How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Is It Worth It? My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Luke.
And today we're going to be talking about the best game that has ever been made. Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim.
Okay.
Full disclosure, I guess, this is my favorite game of all time.
And this
Absolute
has
favorite game.
quickly become... I mean, we both played it over, we're talking a decade now, and there's plenty of people who have played this game for a decade. He has significantly more time than any other living human being I've ever known or have heard of that has ever played this game. I have probably sunk a couple hundred hours into it, easily, over 10 years of playing it across Xbox 360 and my PlayStation 4 and now my PlayStation 5. This is easily one of the best games ever made, without exception, period.
I completely agree. So let's just...
We're going to get through these categories as quick as possible because we really want to talk about the meat and potatoes of this game.
Yeah, we're just going to run through our review and then get into actually the game. If you haven't played the game at this point...
And if we didn't just completely give
should.
away the entirety of the video by the first 3 seconds of this is the best game ever, we'll give you reasons for why we think that, but seriously though, it's great.
Yeah, but our first category to rate the game on is writing, story, and lore.
How do you even begin to compare anything else to Skyrim? I mean,
there are
it's
Skyrim,
an epic.
Skyrim is my favorite game of all time. It is also the Elder Scrolls as a whole is my favorite fantasy lore, bar none. I prefer this is my
with the exception of Lord of the Rings. I don't think there is a video game franchise or any other franchise that has the kind of backstory and just lore, history, and architecture of races, language.
Like the Lord of the Rings
groups.
does, The Witcher does to some extent. The Witcher has a good bit of lore in it.
It does,
not to
but
the same extent.
Not nearly this extent.
Not nearly to this extent. The story of the game itself, I think, is very good. It gives good motivations. I've had difficult speaking all day.
Yeah.
Good motivations for every storyline, and there are hundreds.
But the main quest primarily of Skyrim is not its crowning achievement. At least in my perspective, the primary focus of Skyrim, which is the Dragonborn, the resurgence of dragons in Skyrim, is not the best part of it. I really don't think.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I don't know. I don't know if I can nail down one specific.
Because you have to kind of take it as you have to take all of what makes up the quests in that game, and that is the narrative of the game. In my opinion, that's just how I look at it.
I agree. I think maybe better stated, the game is much more than just the main story.
That's a great way of putting it.
Because the main story is not going to give you a full taste of this game. You can play it and you can enjoy it. And you can actually...
You're only going to hit level 20, though, if you just follow the main story.
You can beat this game by level 20, but you shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't. You should play it more than that. So for me, surprise, surprise, I think it's a 10 as far as the story, many stories that exist inside.
That's the thing, too, is that there's just... For every major quest... They're just equal in grandeur to one another. I mean, at least in my opinion. With the only reason the main quest is longer than the rest is because it is the main quest. But they're all just as good. They really are. Some of them are better, actually.
Yeah, some are better than the main quest. Some, there's some that are maybe a little lacking.
A little bit. Some get redundant.
We'll get to those. Every game is going to have a little bit of redundancy to some degree. This one is no different. But yeah, I think it's a 10.
Yeah, I without exception, agree.
Sorry, 20.
Yeah, 20.
I forget. There's 5 categories. We score 1 through 20 for games.
So we're going to give it a solid 20. And this game did rank 10 out of 10 on IGN. I mean, I don't really put much stock or faith in anything IGN says anymore, but once upon a time, they were real game journalists and they did play games.
I believe ranked 9 to 10 out of 10 in pretty much every...
I think Metacritic gave it a 10 out of 10 as well back in the day when it came out. I know Kotaku also gave it a 10 out of 10. Again, these are all...
Not that we need to go off of their ratings.
No, and again, I'm talking about when game journalism wasn't activism. When game journalists actually played video games and didn't just rip off YouTube reviews and basically pontificate on their political opinions, because that's pretty much all game journalism is these days. Is the game woke or not, and should we praise it for being such? And I don't think game journalists actually play video games anymore. At least the last time I read a review.
I don't read a lot of.
Well, I remember the last time I read a game journalism review, it was IGN, and the guy got busted because he literally ripped off a review from somebody else. He just copy and pasted it. Lazy piece of crap. But anyway, 20, absolutely.
World and character design.
Shoot. A 20.
Now, this is where... Okay. We'll talk about it maybe in a later category. Yeah, I think it probably better falls under a different category that we will get to. But yeah, as far as just the world and character design of the different characters, the different races, how different the races look from one another, which is like a obvious statement, but they do a good job in the variation inside of those. There's not too many reused models.
This is an old game. So
yeah, this came out in 2011.
This can't really be held against it. I mean, we're coming off of Oblivion, which
can be a little bit.
Oblivion was pretty rough. I played through Oblivion, one of my favorite games of all time for the Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. You didn't play Oblivion, but you played Morrowind.
No.
You didn't play Morrowind either? Okay, so you literally just played Skyrim then.
I have gone back and tried to play both Morrowind and Oblivion, and I cannot do it.
Oblivion is rough. Really rough.
Have you tried Morrowind?
No. Yeah, even worse.
Yeah,
so,
even worse.
Yeah, so...
I can respect where the game came from, but leaps and bounds have been made.
Yeah, Oblivion was my favorite game for many years before Skyrim came out. When I was in middle school and when I was first in high school, Oblivion is what I played. Mm-hmm. And it was great. I'd never run across a game like it, and I've never run across a game that was more engaging and more fun to play each time I turned the console on than the Elder Scrolls series. Period.
Fair. So yeah, the world and character design, 20.
Yep.
20.
Not going to take points off for just lack of
gameplay, mechanics, and functionality. Now, when this game first came out, it was flush with bugs. And many of them very delightful bugs and different exploits that you could do that just kind of enhanced the playing experience.
And if you know about certain cheeses, they are still there. They just left some of them in the game.
And a good portion of them they've taken out.
Yes.
They have taken most of them out.
Game-breaking ones, and mechanics-breaking ones, those ones have been eliminated.
Yeah, but they have taken most of them out at this point. There's still a couple in there where
there's some cool moments where you can still like duplicate items. That's still possible. You can still, you can still raid chests from vendors that they never eliminated the cache from, which is still really cool. I love it when game developers just admit that they screwed up and they leave it alone because it's fine. They don't care.
Small things like that where it's not really game breaking. Some of them were. Those have been fixed. None of them, at least in my experience, none of them were like major issues that ever broke the game. They may have made things way too easy, but none of them actually like broke the game as far as inability to play it.
I remember people like exploiting the game and they were power leveling through. Once you got the Ogma Infinium, like you could literally reach level 100 and like max out every single skill tree in the game. Because that was the cap.
Because in the base game, level 80 was the cap. It was not increased until the Dragonborn DLC came out.
Right. So, I mean, I remember seeing YouTube videos where people like, you can go all the way to level 80 after playing the game for like 5 hours. You just had to like basically get to the point where you could get to the Mage's College. You could find the dude that's in the cave, like basically just out beyond the ocean. And then, like, poof, you could just literally power level. That exploit doesn't exist in the game anymore, but I remember taking advantage of it, and it was awesome.
So did I at one point, but I agree that it should not be there.
It shouldn't be.
That one is one of those that is kind of game-breaking. So
it robbed the game of the entire purpose of playing it was to progress in the skill trees.
Yeah, you could look back at it now as kind of being maybe one-dimensional in its combat. But I like it.
But honestly, we're talking about a fantasy hack and slasher. It's Lord of the Rings. You have bows, you have magic, and you have swords.
Yeah, and axes. And, mauls, like different things. And so
it's melee combat.
Like you're just standing there swinging. Like there's there's not as much what's the right word, strategy required for some of the fights, but there is in some of the fights. Like, if you've ever played this game for an extended period of time, like I have not put nearly as much time into it as some people that I'm aware of. I've done about 1,500 hours, which is pretty good for a single-player RPG.
He says that like it's like this small amount of time. Oh, I've only spent 1,500 hours.
Yeah, because I know there's plenty of people out there that have put more than that
2,000-3,000
and know far more than
insane.
I do, which is fine. But it's like putting that amount of time into a single-player RPG is significant, because you normally put that amount of time into online, any kind of multiplayer games.
Yeah,
where
the people that I know,
gameplay,
like World of Warcraft players specifically, are the ones. Like, I knew a guy who had max level, like tier 1 status in the world for being for playing this game. And I remember him explaining it at one point, like the amount of hours and dedication that it took to reach that level, and it was staggering. Like it was borderline. It was actually
like
unhealthy.
there are plenty of multiplayer games that I have put more time into than I have Skyrim. But Skyrim is the most time I put into a single player game.
And this is on multiple playthroughs. This isn't just one single playthrough. This is like revisiting the same quests, revisiting the same mechanics, because this game, every time you turn it on, it has something different to offer. There is a new weapon to discover, a new skill tree to perk out.
Well, no. At this point, there's not for me.
Well, for people that haven't put 1,500 hours into this game,
but that is one
with
of
all of the DLC and the creation content and the mods that are available now, there's no way you could experience everything that Skyrim has to offer
in one playthrough.
There's no way.
And it's because if I remember correctly, at least at one point, I don't know if they changed it, but the NPCs that you are allowed to marry in the game actually vary per playthrough. So you are not guaranteed to be able to marry the same character every time.
Interesting.
Which is a super small detail.
Yeah.
But is a thing.
I usually pick Lydia because it's the first companion you run across.
No, you got to go with one of the merchants.
That's actually a really good idea.
Because then you have a merchant in your house that you can sell to, and they actually give you 100 gold every in-game day.
Yeah, there you go. Money exploits people. Money exploits.
So I think all of the mechanics and the actual gameplay works really well. To this day, I don't have any issues with it that I think it just kind of falls short on. It just doesn't.
My only complaint with it is sometimes the length and repetitiveness of certain quests for certain factions can become redundant. That's it.
Okay.
I got no beef with anything else. Anything else in this game.
So we'll go 19?
Yeah, absolutely.
Graphics.
Okay. Oh boy, it was rough when it came out.
This game came out on September, right?
Yep,
no,
11/11/11.
November, sorry, November.
Yeah,
November
11/11/11.
Yep, November 11th, 2011 is when this game originally came out. And
Xbox 60, PC, and PlayStation 3.
2.
PlayStation 2? There was a PlayStation 2 version of this game?
Wasn't there, or was it 3?
I swear to God, that console would not die.
You're right. I think it was PS3. You're right.
I would not be surprised if there's a PlayStation 2 version of Skyrim. Like they refused to let die. Like well into the PlayStation 3's life cycle, it was like, please just.
I believe you're correct. It was
kill it with fire.
PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. And at the time it came out, it looked good.
Right, but I mean, TVs were like
from what I remember,
1080 was still a new thing. As far as TVs were concerned,
the other games I was playing along this time was like the first couple Gears of War and like Black Ops 2. Like we're in that area.
I remember playing this on like a 480p like VHS dual little mini TV, because that was all my parents gave me a TV when I was like, I think I was like 16 or something. I had my own TV, and it was like this tiny little, like 10 by 10. Like the actual like resolution was so bad that the game couldn't even like put the stat bars in the picture. So I just got used to like guessing where my health, stamina, magic were at. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna die, but like awesome. it was. I just remember doing that with my Xbox 360, and I played this game for a while back then too.
And they've re-released, I believe, 3 different versions of this game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they've... Right?
Including a port for the Nintendo Switch.
Right, because they've done several remasters of this game, and it does look better every time. Going back to it, you can tell it's a little dated, but not in a bad way.
No, and honestly...
And maybe it's just because I'm so used to playing the game and I know how it looks.
And if you played this on PC, you're probably laughing at us because this is primarily from a console perspective, except for you, which you played it on PC.
Yeah, I've played it on the 360, and the PS4, PC, and Xbox Series S.
And the mods that are available on computer is staggering. It's unrecognizable. If you wanted to, you could literally turn Skyrim into a sandbox playground to recreate Westeros, to recreate Middle Earth. I've even seen people import like Legend of Zelda mods onto this game. Like, it's insane what you can do with Skyrim because Bethesda...
Now, none of that is the base game, so we won't be talking about the mods.
But still, though, like, that's part of what the Skyrim experience is, especially now that you can get access to those mods on console.
Some of them, it started with the remastered special edition that they released for PS4.
Yep.
That's when they
first back in, like, had 2018, I believe.
Creation Club that they did, where it's like, hey, you can start having some mods on console, and they kind of poured it over.
There was a bunch of
and
official,
remade some of the
like Bethesda
created Creation Club they had that were kind of taken from the community, but like approved
best
and
mods
by Bethesda.
And then they just launched
and
them.
Not even the best mods, just the least game breaking mods.
Yeah, they added a bunch of new weapons. There was a bunch of new quests, a couple updates, like quality of life updates as far as like texture packs and things like that, but nothing that made the game look next gen.
Right, and with the PS4 version, there were no mods included with the base game.
Right, you can access it.
If you used any mods from the Creation Club, it disabled trophies. Mm-hmm. And then
they eliminated that with the new one.
They didn't eliminate it. But
they gave you the option to use the Creation Club stuff.
Certain ones. With the latest version, there's a number of stuff from the Creation Club that they have built into the game.
Right.
Just like the base version now.
That still enables achievements, which is pretty cool.
That still has achievements enabled, but has some of those quality of life modifications to the game just to help add some varieties to it. But if you use anything beyond that, it does still disable achievements, which I'm okay with. That's fine, because I enjoy the base game enough to
because there's some pretty crazy mods that would absolutely make it stupid easy to get some of these achievements. Like
I haven't even looked
in-game day.
I haven't looked at any of the mods or anything that's in the Creation Club because I'm just not interested. Because as someone that platinumed the game on 360, played it several times, and then spent like 4 years playing it on PC. Like, I know what I can do.
Yeah.
And had fun with it all I can.
And see, for me, this is kind of a new experience because I kind of like have periods where I revisit Skyrim, get really invested, and then kind of like bail for a little while. But I always come back to it. And with my latest playthrough on PlayStation 5, I have the Legendary Edition or the 10th anniversary or whatever it is.
I don't know what version we're on.
To be honest, it's whichever version is the latest one that gave you access to the Creation Club for free.
Right, it's the latest ones that
you get a gold logo when you load in. Anyway,
whatever was released for the PS5s and the Xbox Series S and X, that version.
So that's the version that I'm currently playing on. I will say, if you are a console player and you are watching this and considering upgrading without platinum the game first on your base console, like for instance, if you were moving from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 and you are playing the PlayStation 4 version on your PlayStation 5 and you want to 100% platinum this game, you cannot transfer your achievements to PlayStation 5. It is impossible. The game, for whatever reason, this was a huge oversight. No on Bethesda. I don't know why they dropped the ball on this, but when you transfer your save file and you take the free upgrade to the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series S upgrade, Xbox Series X or Series S, your achievements will not transfer over. And I only caught this after sinking 30 hours into the content after discovering that. So I had to go back, re-download the PlayStation 4 version, play through it again. But even then, I still had a good time.
I didn't run into that issue because I just start fresh every time.
Right. See, this is just on me because I wasn't aware that when you transfer save files to a new console, I figured they would just pour over like with every other game. As long like you're literally talking about the same game, same save file. So all the data should still just proc the same pings and you should get all the same achievements.
All right. So
anyway,
back to graphics.
PlayStation 5, it looks great. It runs at a solid 60 frames per second. I've tested this in a number of different ways. The PlayStation 4 version does not run at 60 frames per second. It runs at, I think, 30. Mm-hmm. I have an Odin, which you can also see my review for on this channel, but I ran my Odin as a remote play to my PlayStation 4, and the best quality I was able to get out of that was actually 540 at a stable frame rate, but that was locked at 30 frames per second as well. The PlayStation 5 version looks just fantastic, flippin' fantastic. It's upscaled to a full true 1080, running at 60 frames per second. Is the best Skyrim's ever looked, and that's without the addition of any mods whatsoever that will literally make this game look like a brand new AAA title.
Yeah, just the base game as it exists that you can just pick it up and play.
On that alone, it's a 20 for me, because the fact that not only can you play the game as it was intended to be played in 2011, but you can update it.
It's better. Like, you actually can't play it as it was intended for 2011 because the remasters on
right. Well, what I mean by that is, like, you can play the base content with no upgrades to the graphics, aside from what the game comes with from Bethesda.
Right, aside from what Bethesda has already done to the game itself.
Right, which it's not that big. It's color changes and some god rays and some frame rate stability and some bugs that were eliminated. Yeah. That's about it. Load times are non-existent on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
You can literally just walk out of a city and boom, you're in the world.
I remember when this game first came out and I was playing on 360. And if you played this when it first came out, the loading screens, you almost spent more time in the loading screens than you did in the game.
It was awful.
That was the joke going around. And I remember when Honest Trailers had their gameplay, their game reviews that they did as well, and their joke for Skyrim was loading screen the game. That's because of how much time you spent in loading screen. But that does not exist anymore. Loading times are just.
And you're playing it on Series S. Yeah. I'm playing it on PlayStation 5. I also have a Series X. I haven't played it on Series X, but I'd imagine it's the same.
Yeah, because you can play it. Yeah, because it's available on Games Pass because Microsoft owns Bethesda. So,
guys,
if you haven't played it,
seriously, get this game for free and play it.
You think 20 for the graphics? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I mean, the fact alone that you can take the game and with free mods, we're talking free mods at the expense alone of achievements. If you platinum the game, play with the achievements, you will be awestruck at how gorgeous everything in this game. I mean, we're talking the towns look different. Grass is more populated. Trees are denser. The light is more effective. Rain looks better. Mountains have texture. The dirt has texture. Water looks better. AI is much more improved. Your weapon selection is broader by leaps and bounds. They've added so many weapons and armor modifications into the game, along with... And these are just the ones that I can think of off the top of my head where they have the biggest ones that are visual in mind. But there are... I couldn't even begin to name all of them. And I have a qualitative list that I put together from watching other YouTube videos, which I will not do in this video because that would take at least an hour just to talk about the mods, what they do, how to download them, and the order in which to load them in.
Or just don't play with any mods and you'll have a great time.
Seriously.
That's what I'm doing.
What can you say that about any other game? That it's like the game as it is great. It's a perfect game. And then if you add mods to it, which are free and available officially through... you don't have to do any kind of jailbreaks or anything. It's just straight up downloading to the game. And I feel like I'm telling a lot of people stuff they already know.
Yeah.
But I just love this game so much. And I just want to imbue that into this video so people know.
Last category: audio mixing and sound design.
Okay, this is where I have to take maybe a few points away, but not for music. In no way, shape, or form would I diminish this game on music. Has one of the most legitimary soundtracks of all time.
I was listening to it on the drive over, actually.
Yeah,
and I'll genuinely great I'll literally outside the main theme.
I will just pause on the thumbnail on PlayStation 5 to let the main theme roll because it's so good. But the world music as you're walking around, the music in the dungeons, the battle music, the everything music is amazing in Skyrim. Sound design, though, for some things, is a little rough. And that's just because we're talking about a game that is over a decade old, using a very old proprietary engine that Bethesda, for whatever reason, refused to upgrade until they were forced to when Microsoft bought them. Basically. It shows. It does. So, like, voicing, the voice sound effect...
The voice acting... particularly
leaves much to be desired,
mainly because there's like when you play through this game, it's like 5 people voice every character in this game is what it feels like.
With like the exception of a couple of the Daedric princes, I think those are the only ones that they like maybe had like an exclusive voice for. But like you're right, it's mostly just recycled voice actors for like every NPC in the game, which really you don't even care because it doesn't matter. It's that good.
Yeah, it's a little bit distracting at first, and then you do kind of get used to it. But I agree.
Everybody sounds like they're from a Viking movie. Like it's a combination of like Scottish and Viking.
Your Nords.
Yeah.
The Imperials sound different. They have different accents.
The Khajiits sound Arabic.
Sound different, have different accents.
Yep.
Your Argonians have different accents. The orcs, the Orsimer, have different accents. Your Bosmer, the Wood Elves, have different accents. The Altmer, your High Elves, the Thalmer have different accents.
They sound like snooty English people.
Yeah, so it's like each race does have a distinctive
voice actors for them, but they're all like recycled assets, just like all the NPCs are basically just recycled assets, with the exclusion of a few models that are different.
Yeah, most of them are unrecognizably the same because a lot of your copy pastes are like your city guards and stuff, they look the same anyway.
Yeah,
but the characters you actually like interact with are all pretty. What's the word I'm looking for?
They made good use of the amount of assets in the game to make the NPCs look different enough that the hairstyles, the clothes, even though it's the same faces every like fourth person.
Some of them not though. Like
right. Sometimes it really is just unique.
The majority of the main characters that you meet throughout the game like are completely unique characters.
It's true. But a lot of like the NPCs you just see in the world.
Sure.
But everyone has a name. This is the thing though. You will probably, if you played this game, if you kill somebody, you will probably break a quest later on down the road because every NPC in Skyrim, at least to my knowledge, has some sort of purpose or function.
Not every, but it
feels like every single one.
Certainly can feel like it at times.
Except for like the endless amount of guards that all have the same voice and all do the same thing. But
so I'm going
that's okay.
18 for audio mixing sound
Absolutely, 18.
Okay. All right, so that brings our total up to 97. Not quite 10 out of 10, like 100. But 97 out of 100.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
More than fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I can confidently say it's the absolute best game ever made. It is one of the best games, and it is certainly my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd consider to be the best game ever made. I mean, the original Halo when it came out for Xbox back in the day was Halo Combat Evolved on the original vanilla Xbox was pretty freaking legendary.
Play it?
You did not play it?
Never been into Halo. Never.
Man, you missed out, my friend. Halo was when it first came out, before like Red versus Blue came out, and the culture that evolved in gaming around Halo, because Halo is like a landmark series along with Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls series. Aside from those two, there's a few others that I can think of off the top of my head, like Need for Speed, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, but those two are probably the most prolific, at least in my opinion, of like
perhaps
genre defining, narrative defining, generation defining gaming landmarks. This game definitely is one of them. I will always consider this to be one of the best games I've ever played.
Yes, 100% agree. Okay, so 97 is our rating. We've gone for almost a half hour just on that.
I know. We were worried that this video is going to go long, and we probably will. So if you guys check out at some point, thanks for sticking around for the majority of what you watched. And we'll try to make things obvious where we're going to go with the conversation. So if you want to, you can just skip to that part of the content to hear about it. I'd like to... One thing I was going to mention, and we didn't talk about this previous to the video, but I would like to like hit all the guild quest lines like one after another. Just so we can kind of like try to like truncate the amount of like tangential like conversation flow, because this game is massive and there is so much to take in.
Yes,
so much.
Okay, so let's get into spoilers then.
And you are the expert, so I will let you direct the conversation because you know infinitely more about this game than anybody has a right to know.
I know more than he does, but there are plenty of people that know much more than I do.
And that's scary to me because I am like the Star Wars expert of everybody that I know. And what I know about Star Wars is like I feel that it's just like a small gourd next to a watermelon in terms of like lore content. It's like all the snooty Lord of the Rings people that are like, you think you know lore?
Yeah,
I speak Elvish, but whatever they do. But anyway, I just let you go for it.
Okay. Well, which guild do you want to start with? Let's start with the Mages Guild.
Okay.
What do you want to start with the main quest?
I feel like Companions is probably the first one you run into.
It is the first one you run into.
And it's kind of like a secret guild where like the game doesn't really tell you that it's...
Yeah, that's fair. The game doesn't really tell you that the Companions is Skyrim's version of what exists as the Fighters Guild in other provinces of Tamriel.
I totally forgot about the Fighters Guild, actually. But yeah, you're totally right. It is the Fighters Guild.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Fighters Guild. They trace their lineage back to Ysgramor, which I don't know if I need to get into the history of Ysgramor
here. We could probably do an entire episode dedicated to just the lore alone of Skyrim.
Just Ysgramor.
And we should. We should at some point just make a series of videos on Skyrim lore. That'd be lit.
That'd be fun.
That'd be really fun.
But anyway, the Companions quest line, I don't know how in depth or really what we want to cover. It's
just kind of like the breadth of what it entails and the fact that that's the first time you're introduced to what was a big shock to me. I played this game for 5 years before I figured out that vampires and werewolves were a thing in this game.
Really?
Yeah, legit. I knew that vampires were a thing in Oblivion.
You come across the Companions pretty early on when you first enter Whiterun. And, once you join them, you do a couple quests for them. They're like the local muscle for hire kind of thing, settling disputes a little bit,
And it seems like it could be kind of a boring side quests, really, until you really figure out that,
the inner circle of the Companions are all a group of werewolves. Right. And eventually you have the opportunity to become a werewolf and join the inner circle and join their fight against the Silverhand, the opposing guild, if you will, that is trying to wipe out werewolves because werewolves are something that people don't like.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Not nearly as pretentious as vampires, but...
No.
But still, though, like a very much a hush-hush secret.
Yeah, like the origins of both are very different.
Very much so.
Yeah. Werewolves, like were-creatures in general, like you have were-boars and were-bears and werewolves. I believe the 3 different were-creatures that are known to exist inside Tamriel. Or at least the Plain of Mundus. I don't know if all of them are on Tamriel.
Hoping for werebears.
Werebears at some point.
6, that'd be freaking rad. It's kind of like this giant bear and just like maul people to death. That'd be awesome.
Were-creatures are the product of the Daedric Prince Herstein, which is like Lord of the Hunt, basically. And throughout the course of the Companions' quests, you eventually have the option to become a werewolf. You actually have to become a werewolf to continue on with the quest.
You can be cured of it, though, by election, if you so choose. But
you eventually can cure yourself if you don't want to remain a werewolf, but you do have to become a werewolf to complete the quest, which involves killing untold number of Silverhands and avenging Skewer's death?
The Glenmore witches. Don't leave the heads. Pick them up because it is impossible to cure the circle because at some point you will have a quest that will allow you to cure the other members of the circle and yourself. It is impossible to do so without the Glenmore witch heads. Yeah. Don't get rid of them. Don't drop them. Don't get rid of them.
Gives you a quest to kill the Glenmore witches and bring him back a head. The optional section of the quest is to acquire all of the heads and kill all of them, which is what you want to do because that will give you enough to cure Kodlak, the other members of the circle that want to cure themselves, and then one for yourself.
Right.
If you don't do that, then you're screwed.
Right. And there's no way to get it back. Like if you drop them in world, like good luck figuring out where they're at.
Yeah, that's one thing that is enjoyable about this game is there are things like that where it's like if you don't pick up certain things or if you like kill certain characters or do things a little bit out of order, you can like
You can't screw yourself out of a potentially
quest.
good quest. Yeah.
And it's not like the game is broken. Like, no, it's designed to be that way. Like, if you, like, mess up and kill somebody, and they're tied to a quest, you just can't do that now.
Yeah.
Like, you messed up.
That's just straight up how it is. Like, I mean, the biggest one is probably Parthenax, the dragon. Is that not the biggest one?
No, because you can't, like... It's not a mistake to kill him.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, like, as a consequence of killing an NPC and being shut off from doing other quest lines as a consequence. Like, if you choose to let Parthenax live, you cannot interact with the blades at all.
Right, yeah.
It is impossible.
Yeah, it's
unless
just
you, like,
actual choices that
do
your
a console
character
commander,
makes.
like, glitch the game somehow, but...
Yeah, it's just actual, choices that your character makes, then you have just the result of those decisions. That's
right.
Just the game.
But, like, if you kill the Dark Brotherhood assassin that appears to you, like, if you just straight up kill him, I don't think you can join the Dark Brotherhood after that.
No, so we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, that's about most of it for the companions. You eventually get to become what's called the Harbinger of the companions. That's kind of the pseudo-leader. They don't have, like, anyone that leads the guild. They just have one individual who acts as an advisor to everyone else, just kind of the elder statesman of the group, if you will.
The most competent fighter, basically.
Normally, yeah. Yeah, and eventually you end up becoming the Harbinger because Kodlak dies, and then you are able to cure his spirit after he dies so that he is removed from Hircine's realm of oblivion and gets to go to Sovereign Guard instead, which is nice. And you also get to do a couple quests where you
I still have
retrieve
yet to do that quest, actually.
The shards of Wuthrad. Wuthrad is the axe that Ysgramor wielded when he basically went on a murder spree of the snow elves in the province that is now called Skyrim back in, what year was that? I don't remember.
Many moons before the events of the game, that is for sure.
Yeah, Ysgramor is... Yeah, because we're like several thousand years removed.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So that's it for the companions.
Let's head over
We can talk about them for sure, but let's do the Mages Guild right after that. Or did you want to go to
Let's
one
go
of the
Dark
other ones?
Brotherhood, because you
Okay,
brought
fine,
up,
yeah.
Because, yeah, you can not join the Dark Brotherhood, because the way you join the Dark Brotherhood is by talking to people, innkeepers, heard any rumors lately.
Aventus Arentino.
You find out about Aventus Arentino, who has been performing the Black Sacrament in Windhelm?
Yes, it's Windhelm.
In Windhelm. And you go and meet with him, and then he gives you a quest to go kill Grelod
Geralt
the Kind.
Grelod.
Grelod the Kind.
I always get it mixed
horrible,
up right
horrible old woman.
Witch of a woman who is just
in charge of an
abusing the
orphanage
children.
in Riften, and it's just awful. And when you do that,
you feel like zero pity.
You kill the old woman. You go back
down.
to Arentino. He's all happy. He gives you a family heirloom with like a silver candlestick or something.
I think it's a plate. I was like,
is it a plate?
It's
like worth like maybe 50 coins at the most.
I think I kept it just because, but it's
like,
trash.
thanks,
Like
kid.
it's worthless.
But then once you do that, you sleep, and then when you sleep, the next time you sleep, you wake up in a cabin in the middle of nowhere with a hooded figure, kind of sitting up atop a shelf.
Yep.
Like on a bookcase.
Yep.
She's sitting on a bookcase. Astrid is the character's name. And at that point is basically your decision on whether you want to join the Dark Brotherhood or not.
Right.
Most players are compelled to join because you don't know you can't.
Right.
So you kill one of the three, blah, blah, blah. You just do the thing.
This is the cool part about it. It's a morally ambiguous question. So you can basically talk to any of the three of them, define for yourself which one of them needs to die. They all have valid reasons.
And in the end, it doesn't matter which one you kill.
Astrid will not tell you which one was the contract, so you could have totally just murdered an innocent person, albeit a dick, and they won't tell you. And that's just how this game rolls.
If you don't want to choose, you can instead kill Astrid, which starts a completely different quest line to actually bring down the Dark Brotherhood as a group.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to do on my current
I think that's exactly what I'm going to do on my next one. Because I actually have just completed the Dark Brother. I usually avoided them in the past
Right, you just kind of avoid all of it together.
Yeah,
I
just never slept. Like, I'm the zombie in the character that just does not sleep. Like, the faceless...
So you went through the trouble to talk to Aventus, but then you wouldn't sleep afterwards?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I mean, you can literally go through this game and never sleep at all. There's just no point. Especially if you're a werewolf, you get no bonuses from sleeping. So there's, like, no point. You just wait infinitely, but you don't have to sleep.
Normal being and you're married, you get 2 bonuses for sleeping.
Yes, exactly. So, and on the occasion that you do, which most people will at some point do that, it's just, it happens. Probably by accident, you'll end up in this cabin, which is what happened to me the first time I did it.
Exactly.
And you're like, what is even happening? I can't get out. What is happening? You have to kill one of them, or you have to kill Astrid. It's one of the two. But, the Dark Brotherhood questline is of the ones that you can do, is my favorite. I think it has the most compelling story.
From the base game.
Oh, yeah, from the base game. It is the most fun. It's thrilling, actually, where some of the quests can get a little derivative. It's like, go here, collect this thing, bring it back to me. Fetch, just like quest fetching. It's just, you go get the thing,
a little bit
do
of
the
that,
thing.
but mostly murder quests.
Yeah, most of the time it's just like, and I love Nazin's, or Nazir. I think it's Nazir. I love how when he gives you his first...
is a dude in Whiterun.
Yeah, so when he gives you his first set of contracts, he, like, mocks you for the complexity and depth. He's like, yes, you murdered a emaciated, helpless, crippled, homeless person. You are truly an assassin to be feared. I was like, really, bro?
But he's right.
Yeah, still he's right. Exactly. And that's just the kind of dialogue you can expect to get from a lot of the different quests in the game. But by far, the Dark Brotherhood, I think, is my favorite. Just the characters are the best, and then the little girl who's like 300 years old, who's like a murder queen with poisons,
and her pet spider.
Yeah, freaking pet spider creeped me out when I first saw it. I hate spiders.
Don't kill it.
Yeah, I hate spiders. But I saw that thing and I was like, oh crap! And then I realized it wasn't like aggressive at all, and so I didn't kill it, but still, like, who keeps a freaking pet spider? It's big enough to eat you.
A psychotic 300-year-old vampire that lives in the body of, like, an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. I mean, but this is also, like, the group of people who worship, like, a body that is, like, imbued with, like, the spirit of a woman who murdered her children for the god of death, essentially, which is like
fair
a pretty
assessment.
Yeah, and so like she like continuously is like in communion with this Daedric prince who
not a Daedric prince.
Not a Daedric prince.
No, Sithis is separate from the Daedric princes.
He
is technically older than them.
Don't ask right now. I can hear you already.
If you
like
know,
asking.
you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. If you don't, he will explain at some point. I will not, because I will get it wrong. But basically, that quest line is just one of the most compelling. I just loved how linear it was. Every quest felt like it was building up to something, and then you get to kill the Emperor. That was awesome. Yeah, I thought for sure when you get to the end of it and you kill the imposter, I was like, they're not actually going to let you kill like Tidy Medes the second. You totally do get to kill him.
You come face to face, and then you get to...
And he's just like... Yeah, go ahead, kill me.
Yeah, if this is meant to be, like,
It's meant to be, like, I'm not getting out of it. And he just, like, lets you kill him. Yeah. It's like, okay, really?
Did you steal his clothes?
I did not. Is there, like, something that happens when you,
you just get to walk around in the Emperor's clothes.
No, I did not steal the Emperor's clothes. I was like, at least leave the dignity of keeping his freaking clothes.
No, strip him naked.
Yeah, and then just, like...
humiliate him to death.
Just, like, throw him on the desk for, like, bodyguards to... Fine, no, I'm not that. I just like stabbed him. Like as soon as he was done talking, he was like, "Okay, you can do the deed." I was like, and then just walked away. I'm done with this. But that's pretty much the Dark Brotherhood in a nutshell. Although you can perpetually farm gold from an endless quest. What is it? Is it where your enemy hangs his hat? No, that's the one where you get to Devlin. We'll talk about him in a minute. But basically, that's unrelated. But there is another one where it's like the Dark Brotherhood Forever. And you can just perpetually farm out contracts.
Once you complete each of the like main guilds, there is endless amounts of work and quests that can be done for them.
Yeah, you can never run out of gold in this game. If you are running out of gold, you're not playing it right.
So let's jump over to Thieves Guild.
Yeah, Thieves Guild. Oh my.
Thieves Guild you kind of encounter by accident as well for the first time because you get to Riften for the first time and
you have to go into the Ratway anyway for the main story.
For the main story you do. So eventually you're kind of forced to talk to Brynjolf in order to get into the Ratways.
Yes.
So whether that's by accident because you just went to Riften, and
Or by
talked to the
design
guy,
through the main quest.
or by design through the main quest, you eventually do find your way into the Ratways to the
Cauldron.
what's the name of the place?
I almost said the Leaky Cauldron.
Yeah,
and I
it's
deserve
not
to be
the Leaky-
slapped for that.
it is not
that
the
is from
Leaky
Harry
Cauldron.
Potter. I'm totally wrong. No, it's the cistern or something.
Why am I blanking? The only name that comes to mind is the Winking Skeever, and I'm pretty sure that's in Solitude.
It is. The Winking Skeever is the bar in Solitude.
Yeah.
Shoot, I can't remember. It's the
But
Cauldron something.
No.
I can't remember. We're gonna look it up
the
real quick
Ratways.
because we're dumb like that. But essentially, no, you get down there and it's like this entire group of like thieves and assassins, essentially, not primarily by design, mostly thieves, that just inhabit this area, and it takes you on a really elaborate series of quests to eventually restore the Thieves Guild to its former glory, which you end up finding out that the former head of the Thieves Guild was betrayed by the current master of the Thieves Guild, who blamed Carlia, who was the like second hand to the previous aforementioned guild master. Mm-hmm. You then find out that, and this was totally by accident for me because you can get kind of bored, I think, with the Thieves Guild quest lines because they don't really do much in terms of like quest enjoyment. It's like sneak to this house, rip this off, and then like bring it back and sell it to us. Like it's kind of lackluster. But when you find out that the Nightingales are like a secret cult within the Thieves Guild, it gets cool really quick, and you get an exclusive set of armor which, to this day, of all the armor sets that are available in Skyrim, which there are a lot of armor sets that are available, the Nightingale armor is by far my favorite in terms of just pure aesthetics and looks. If you are going for a sneak build, you cannot go wrong with the Nightingale armor. The only other armor that could probably rival that would be the, I think, the Guildmaster armor that you get for completing the Thieves Guild quest line, or if you build your own armor, which if you enchant your armor, it's always going to be better. Especially if you have the dual enchantment, then there's just, endless possibilities. But in terms of just getting in-game guaranteed drops, the best one that you can find for a sneak build would be like the Dark Brotherhood, like ancient armor, or the Nightingale armor. But nothing comes close to like how cool the Nightingale armor looks, and that's just my personal opinion.
The Nightingale armor is some of the better looking armor. For sure.
Oh yeah, it doesn't look like anything else in the game by far. Like it's just 100% unique, and that's just why I love it.
But yeah, the whole plot line with
what is the name of the place? Did you look it up and find out?
I couldn't find it.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sure there's a name that I'm forgetting. Like all it has is like, if the Ratways in the sewers, then it's like then you find the Thieves Guild. I couldn't find like the actual name of the area. I know it has a specific name. I just can't.
Yeah,
I just can't think of it.
Yeah, it's got like some seedy sounding name to it, because it's a thieves bar. Basically, it's where all the thieves hang out.
Yeah,
but that's basically it. I mean, there's really not much to go on. I will say the Thieves Guild, if you want to complete it and you want to get the restore the Thieves Guild to its full glory, that perk that achievement is going to take some time.
That's the most grindy part of the game.
Very
is
grindy.
Completing the Thieves Guild and restoring it to its former glory.
Best way you can do it, what you basically have to do is once you've completed the main quest line for the Thieves Guild, you basically are able to talk to Devlin. Devlin, I can't remember his name, but basically he's the bald dude that you usually sell your stuff to. And
it's not
Vex.
Devlin, it's Delvin.
Delvin. Thank you, Delvin. Delvin and Vex. Those are the two that you are going to get the quests. Radiant quests is what they're called, and you can pick from any four, or like I think there's 4 options. I went with the first 2 just because it became repetitive to the point where you just kind of memorize what you're supposed to do and it makes it easy. But you basically have to complete 5 of each in each of the main cities. So not 5 from each one exclusively, so 10, just 5 between the 2 of them in each city, between Windhelm, Solitude, Markarth, and Whiterun.
Isn't it all 9 holds?
No, it's just those 4.
Really?
Yes, it's just those
all
4.
9 holds.
It's not. It's just 4. And once you've completed 5 of those Radiant quests per city, which become progressively harder for the RNG to give you the 5 you need, you then will get a special quest from Delvin. Did I say his name right?
Delvin.
and he will just give you a curated quest that you will have to go do. They're usually pretty easy, and that will advance you one level in the Thieves Guild. Once you've done 4 of them, one for each city, you will then be granted the title of the Thieves Guild Master. They will give you the key to the tribute box and give you the armor set, and you get the achievement.
Yeah.
That's basically how that's done. Grindiest part of the game,
But
least
still
enjoyable by far.
All of it, maybe, yeah.
But still fun to play. Just, it gets grindy. Very grindy, very quick. But if you parse it out in a playthrough where you're just doing it, the odd quest here and there, it will take you longer than any of the other quests to do, but you will be able to do it reasonably fast. It's not like it takes forever.
Just space some of it out. It's fine.
Yeah, just take your time. Do other fun stuff in the meantime. Like do a Dark Brotherhood assassination. Go do a Mages Guild quest. And I guess that brings up Mages Guild. We should talk about that next.
Yeah, Mages Guild. Something you're told about pretty early on.
Very
specifically
very early
from what's his name? The mage in Whiterun mentions it like the first time you get there, and you have like the quest to join the Mages College of Winterhold.
Yeah.
And I've always found this one of my favorite quest lines to play. I really enjoy the Mages Guild.
And I've done it every time I played it, so it's kind of just old hat for me.
Sure, which just makes sense, but
Arcano is still satisfying to kill every single time.
Yes.
Every time.
Tolfdir is still
and the Sigic Order. Every time I run into them, I just want to know more.
The Sigic
and the
Order.
Eye of Magnus and the Augur. There's just a lot of...
The Augur of Dunlane, yeah.
Yes. And, if you go into the... I forget what they call it, but, the underside of the college, which is,
Undercroft?
Yes, thank you. And it's, infested with skeletons, Draugr, and a single named troll.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure why that troll is named, but he has a name. And there is, a Oblivion summoning pedestal down there, along with a fist. There's a ring quest associated with, and if you want those rings, they're inside the Arcanium in a chest on the left-hand side of the room. You'll have to break in or get the keys somehow from the salty librarian guy.
Urag Groshub.
Thank you. I just picked the lock, got the keys, put them on the ring fingers in a specific order, and it will release a Daedra, who's a sadistic murderer, who, if you release, he will give you access to his horde. There's a way, though, where you can release him, get his horde, and then kill him and send him back to Oblivion, which is what I did. But it doesn't count as a Daedric quest. It's not like a secret Daedric artifact. It's just a cool little quest that, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Mages Guild. It's fun. Especially...
And you get to explore the ruins of Sarthal and stuff like that, and you discover, the 3 different pieces of the Amulet of Sarthal, and, all the good stuff. Sarthal, for backstory, is the original settlement that the Atmorians built when they first traveled south into Skyrim, and then was sacked by the Snow Elves, prompting Ysgramor to sail southward and slaughter them all.
And if you didn't know, the Falmer are the twisted remains of what once was the Snow Elf race.
Yes.
And there is only one depiction, and you will see it occasionally in the loading screens, of a statue of what the Snow Elves used to look like. And they were...
Until you meet.
There is a single Snow Elf.
Yes.
In the game.
In the game.
You know where, and you know the name. I forget every time I play through this game. But just because it's impossible to remember everything.
There's a lot of names, a lot of nouns,
so many
places and things, just a lot of it. But yeah, there is a Snow Elf that you eventually can meet that is tied to one of the quest lines involving, if I remember correctly, the Dawnguard quest line. And
that would be why I haven't run across him yet, because
you haven't done Dawnguard yet.
Every time I play this game, I will invest what seems like an eternity into this game, and I just lose steam and walk away before I ever get to the DLC. But this time will be different. Having platinum the game for the very first time, although I can't believe it's taken me a decade of my life to platinum this game, I finally pulled it off last night, and it was
11 years and 40 hours.
Yeah, for real. Just playing this game from high school till 2022, and I
Yeah.
finally platinumed it for the first time. Felt good. Felt really good. And I can't wait to play the DLC with the mods enabled. I'm just going to forego the DLC achievements. I just don't care at this point.
So the Dawn Guard DLC.
Yeah, let's talk about the big ones.
Yeah, so, well, Dawn Guard and Dragonborn are the two big DLCs,
Yes.
obviously. Dawn Guard is where you get to join a group of vampire hunters called the Dawn Guard. There's this whole quest line tied to it, obviously, with interesting characters.
Not to be
that you
associated
meet-
with the Vigilance of Stendar. I thought that, not those guys.
No, very different beings. But yeah, very interesting characters you get to meet along the way. Over the course of Dawn
New
Guard,
companions too, I believe.
yes,
correct?
new companions that you have access to, and over the course of it, you eventually have the option to become a vampire.
Vampire Lord.
Right, where previous to this, you could contract sanguine vampirism. Is the
Turn
disease you
pasty
were able
white,
to contract, and it
glow like
never
a
really
diamond.
had any bearing. You had negative effects, no positive effects.
I think you could like feed on humans to like get like a bonus, but like being in sunlight
No,
would like
not even.
penalize you.
Not even originally.
Really?
Not in the
See,
base
in
game.
Oblivion, it was you could feed on sleeping.
Well, because you there was no way for you to really become a vampire until Dawn Guard came out. Like
Oh,
you could contract
okay.
sanguine vampirism, but never become a vampire.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. And
Right.
in Oblivion, you could become a full vampire. Like, you literally had 7 days to cure the disease.
And you can in Skyrim as well.
But
And
in Oblivion,
you
you had one opportunity to cure it.
and you can actually contract vampirism that you do have to cure.
But
it's not
the same thing as being a
being
full-blooded
a
vampire.
vampire lord like you can.
And see, in Oblivion, once the transformation was complete, you could feed on people that were asleep to gain a bonus to combat.
Mm-hmm.
At night, you gained a passive combat boost, a speed boost.
Mm-hmm.
But in the daylight, you would actually lose like 1 HP per second that you
what
spent.
was the means that? Well, it depends on how you become a vampire. At least in Skyrim, some of those benefits may exist in Skyrim that I just don't know about because I've never actually become a vampire by contracting sanguine vampirism. That wasn't the mode. Like as soon as you get it, you're like, oh, I'll just drink a
Cure
a
disease or
cure
whatever.
disease potion, and it gets a. But if you do have it for too long, you eventually do become like a vampire, but you're like a lesser form of vampire,
Right.
And it's because of the manner that you were turned.
I think in Oblivion, if you the deciding factor was if you slept after 7 days. So if you contracted it, if you didn't sleep, you wouldn't become a vampire.
Okay.
But once you slept, that would trigger the
Yeah.
in-game transformation, and there was no going back.
Yeah, there's a
at that
separation with the vampires in Skyrim because of the way that you're turned. Where originally it's like you basically contract it during battle, so you get it, but like to a minimal degree. Whereas if you actually join the hall, man, I forget the name of the castle for the vampires, but it's this clan of vampires with a very long bloodline, a very pure bloodline, and if you get changed by them, then
Totally different.
you have the ability to become a vampire lord, and transform yourself into said vampire lord, where you're like flying and hovering above the ground and looking like all kinds of cool powers,
Like full-blown Dracula. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I wish there was something similar to that for the werewolves, but
Well, there
the
is.
werewolves, I mean, the base transformation is basically as good as it gets.
Yeah, but then you have all the different skills that
Yeah, you
you
have all
have
the
inside of
perks.
that, and you have all the perk trees. Like,
Yeah,
you have all
but
that
I mean,
for
like, there's
vampires
not
and
like
werewolves.
a super form of vampire, or like a super form of like the werewolf that you can do, like roided out,
You're a werewolf. What more do you want?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, vampires, like, you have, like, the pasty-skinned people who just, like, drink blood, and then you have, like, vampire lords who are, like, demon gods. So it's, like, I kind of just was like, it'd be kind of cool to have, like, a werewolf version of that, but I don't know that it could get
Do you know
much
the
more.
origins of the vampires?
Not off the top of my head, no.
No,
Not in this series, anyway.
I don't know if I should say it.
We'll go into it at some point.
I don't know if I should say it on camera. It's pretty horrible.
We'll get flagged by YouTube.
Yeah, like it's not good. If you know, you know. But like the origins of vampires in
You can tell me about it
good.
off camera. This game though, the lore can get dark really quick. I mean, there's some really, really dark stuff, but you have to like read the books, like the Slode. Now, this was something I didn't learn about for a really long time, but like there's literally a book in the game that is just like it's undecipherable, unreadable because it's in the Slode language. But the Slode are like a race of like slug gods that have magic and like eat their children or some
right,
like
well,
crazy
they're
thing.
master necromancers, and a lot of their magic centers around like blood magic and like child sacrifice, but they can conjure entire like undead armies.
Yeah, and they're like giant, like Jabba the Hutt, like unkillable,
Kind
like,
of.
magic gods.
Kind of, yeah.
That'd be really terrifying to see in Elder Scrolls 6, but
That
it'd
are,
be cool
are
if we...
so fat that they cannot move. They actually teleport themselves everywhere. That's how powerful. They just teleport themselves to move and can, raise massive undead armies to do their will.
It'd be really cool to see a
Pretty
Slode.
sweet.
I hope that we get something of that nature.
At some point, I would hope so.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, there's just the weird stuff like that you run across
And then
in this game.
with the Dawn Guard, you also get the capability of getting crossbows.
Yeah, I forgot about that,
Crossbows
actually.
you can actually use. There's a couple special weapons that you get throughout the course of it that are all fun. But Dragonborn, the Dragonborn quest line, where you get to go to Solstheim and you have to fight Miraak. Miraak is not just a previous Dragonborn.
He is the Dragonborn.
First
Yeah.
Dragonborn
Right.
to have existed, according to him. And yeah, he's like all pissed off that there's like another Dragonborn, and there's like a cult that like surrounds him and like worships him as being the Dragonborn. So he's out to kill you and prove that he is the Dragonborn and you are not, basically. And this quest is really fun because of everything you get to do along the way. The final battle with Miraak is, I would say, the second most challenging fight in the game.
Along with the Ebony Warrior, correct?
Ebony's third.
Oh, Ebony third. Okay.
Yeah, I would classify Ebony Warrior maybe third most difficult, Miraak probably second most difficult, and then the most difficult being the secret Frost Troll Ghost King that you can fight on Solstheim. That guy's probably the most difficult.
There is also another secret boss within the dwarven city of I forget the name of the ruin. Blackreach. Thank you.
Yeah, when you're
if
in
you
Blackreach.
shout at the orb at the center of the like little town that's there, it will summon a dragon that is just there in the cavern.
Yeah, I think most people know that though.
I didn't know that. I'm sure there's somebody who didn't know
That's
that.
true. Like if you haven't played, yeah, there's probably some people that don't know that,
Or have just
for sure.
forgotten, for sure. But that's only one of the other
yeah,
hidden
with the
bosses I know
Dragonborn
of.
quests, where as soon as you start the Dragonborn quest line and you encounter him for the first time, then Miraak like pieces out. You cannot claim a single dragon soul until you kill him, because every time you kill a dragon, he will show up and absorb the soul instead of you, and then peace out.
So you better make sure that you do it end game, otherwise you will get absolutely screwed out of every dragon soul that you will run across in the early game.
Let's just beat him. Like you can beat Miraak by the time you're like level 37.
But still, though, like
be
if
able to
you
beat him.
screw up and take the boat to Solstheim and run into it,
Yeah,
like,
and then you try and
someone
go
we
back
know-
to Skyrim and then keep playing, and it's like every time I kill a dragon, like somebody else shows up and takes his soul. Like, yeah, you can kind of screw yourself that way, especially if you do that early on. You're like level 10. Well, yeah, you're screwed because you're not going to. You won't
even be able
not
to
be
advance in the
complete
quest
them.
line. Like it's impossible because you need. Well, no, not impossible because the two shouts that you need to progress in the story are Unrelenting Force, which you are given by the Greybeards, and they give you like energy from themselves to like power it, and then they also give you the
They give you Clear
Force.
Skies.
Clear Skies, which you need to get up
Yeah.
to the throat of the world to meet Parthenax.
Yeah.
And then Dragon Rend.
Dragon Rend
is also given to you for free.
Yeah, because you learned that from the champions of old that defeated Alduin originally atop the throat of the world.
And that's it, actually.
Yeah, those are the three shouts you need.
Those are the only three that you need to actually beat Alduin. That's it. And you don't need a Dragon Soul for any of them. You could literally play the base quest never kill a dragon, get those 3.
You won't have a whole lot of fun.
No,
you'll have fun.
Like if you were going for
Not
like a speed run to like complete it, I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah, you can speed run this game pretty quickly. But the black books.
This is I'm not sure about this.
So you haven't played it yet. But
no, okay, that's why I'm like, what about the space game? Where have I been doing?
There are 4 black books that exist that are tied to the Dragonborn quest line with Mirak, and basically these are black books from the realm of Apocrypha, which is the realm of Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge.
Okay.
And you open up a black book, and you get sucked into it and are transported to the plane of Apocrypha and have to fight your way through.
Isn't Hermaeus Mora the one that gives us
the Augment Infinium?
Yes.
Yep.
The crazy, like, Cthulhu god?
Yep, and that's his realm. Looks like that. It's cool. And there's tons of, like, tentacle monsters and stuff that you get to fight.
That's rad.
That's where the final fight happens with Mirak, as he exists inside the realm of Apocrypha.
Interesting. Okay.
So
does he give you, like, in-game reason for why he's there and not in Mundus?
I believe he's in Apocrypha. I don't remember
because obviously he's dead, unless he's like immortal, which I don't know.
I mean, what is immortality?
Well,
in Elder Scrolls, like,
it means
life in
something
general,
different.
Yeah, exactly. Where any being of immense power can continue to exist on a near indefinite level, just based on that. Like, beings can achieve godhood in a sense where gods aren't what we would think of them as gods. They are just beings of immense power that exist across different planes of existence. Mundus just being one of them, and is unique for having mainly mortal creatures that preside in it, but that does not mean that those individuals cannot obtain enough power to exist in other planes of existence as well.
Right. But just getting through, like, obviously the Dragonborn DLC is very expansive.
There's 4 different black books you get to have to go into and, like, fight through to figure out.
And this is over, like, what, a 30-hour campaign?
I don't remember how long it takes. It's a good chunk of time, though. But each book, once you complete it, you get special boons. Like, you got like one of 3 that you can choose from each one, so you get 4 power-ups along the way to your fight with Mirak.
Like, I call
Mirak the second most difficult fight just because his base level, I believe, is 35.
And he scales to, like, what, 70, I think?
No, he scales to a max level 150.
Oh, 150.
And his scale rate is, I think, 1.1 per the player, so he's 10% stronger than you up to a max of level 150.
God, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So by the time you're like 37, 38, he's like, he will continue to scale appropriately to you at that point. So you can kind of beat him at that point if you have all the right stuff.
Right.
So he's not going to get any more difficult.
Right. Which is still saying it's going to be hard, which it should be. Yeah. I can't wait to try it, honestly. Like, just... I've always wanted to play the DLCs, and there's always another game that comes up that I wanted to play with my friends, or...
Yeah, the stuff with Mirak is 100% just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to be able to play the DLC. Legit. But we've hit the guilds, we've hit the main DLC, we've hit the main story. Let's talk about just the near infinite plethora of side quests for a second, just to, like, give people an idea of the just... chasm of quests that you can fall into and never find the bottom.
Yeah, so it is technically, I believe, impossible to finish every quest, just for the sake that the different guilds have repeatable quests that you can do infinitely.
Yeah, so
like, you can just always do them
permanently in
always
your
things to
tracker.
Do. But as far as unique side quests, there, of course, is a limit to those that you can do, and you can complete them all. It takes a very long time to do so, and maybe you actually cannot do them all, given if you make a wrong choice
and somebody gets killed,
unable to complete certain quests.
And if an NPC kills another NPC, that is also possible.
But there are, I can't give you a number, but the best thing to do if you haven't played this game is to just walk through and, like, just talk to everybody.
Right.
Because you never know what random person is going to give you a quest that could take you 10 minutes, could take you 5 hours.
Right.
Legitimately. Like, it could just send you on this rabbit trail
do
of
yourself
just doing
a favor,
things.
though. Avoid the fishery in Riften, though. Like, That quest is dumb and it sucks. But you wouldn't have to worry about it. Yeah, stupid glassfish. If you don't have the definitive edition or whatever the one is that gives you the creation club, don't worry about it. Seriously though, avoid it if you do. Don't do it. It takes forever and you get like nothing for it. And you will hate fishing in this game. Unless you're one of those people that loves fishing simulators. Then you might really love it.
I love fishing in games.
Until you pulled your 5th bucket, mace, wine bottle tankard out of, and your infinite supply of garbage that's polluting the rivers and waterways.
We're cleaning up the water, man.
Yeah, for real. I was just chucking crap back in. I was like, take it. I don't want it. I just wanted the stupid pogfish, man. Freaking pogfish.
But there are so many quests. So my advice just be talk to everybody, because you never know what interesting quests you're going to come across throughout the course of playing this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you brought up one thing that I think you said it maybe a week ago or so, about the main quest, about the Civil War not being enough of a focus.
For being a causal point from the beginning of the game to even the major point right before the final battle with Alduin. Mm-hmm. The Civil War is a major plot point that just kind of gets sidetracked, where you feel like there's just not much content there at all.
I don't feel that way necessarily.
Which side do you usually side with? Do you usually side Stormcloaks or
So I've played both, just to get context for both.
Empire's better in my opinion. It's more enjoyable to play through that quest line.
It depends on your viewpoint of the war, which depends on how much you're willing to read of the in-game books.
Right.
Because the Civil War started when Jarl Ulfric
shouted to death
the High King Torrig.
Yes.
They say murdered because he technically did not murder him.
No, it was
he challenged
and he accepted
Torrig in combat, as any of the Jarls are legally able to do to the High King of Skyrim.
It was just a method by which he did it that was objectionable.
Right, it's like, I'm going to challenge you to a fight, and now I'm going to use the Thum to kill you, is basically what he did. So kind of a cheap shot, but technically
it was fair combat. It was anything goes. It was to the death, and Torg accepted and was killed. But the Empire phrases it in a way that makes it appear as if he murdered the rightful High King of Skyrim.
Right, Ulfric just rolled up into solitude, murdered Torrig, and now declared himself High King and wants to secede from the Empire because they don't want to be under the rule of the Thalmor.
The Aldmeri Dominion.
Empire, as it stands under Titus Mede II,
in the White
is subject to the White Gold Concordant.
White Gold Concordant.
Which is basically the treaty that was struck at the end of the last war between Mer and Men, where the elves basically won, and the entire empire is subject underneath the Aldmeri Dominion, the Thalmor specifically.
There's literally Gestapo agents that hover in all of the different major beat points of certain parts in the story. They're present at the peace talks that you bring up. They're at one point you have to break into their embassy, and they're literally torturing people in their basement.
Yeah. So Elenwyn is the representative that appears at the Peace Council alongside General Tullius. Ancano is the Thalmor that is overseeing things at the Mages College. So they're kind of all over the place. But the reason for the Civil War starting in the first place is kind of because Ulfric killed Torrig. But why did Ulfric kill Torrig? Why did he feel the need to do so?
Yeah,
so
that's an
Ulfric
interesting point.
Was a soldier that was only mildly radical before he was captured by the Thalmor, tortured by the Thalmor, and basically indoctrinated to hate the Thalmor, and then was intentionally released by the Thalmor to stir up anti-Elven sentiment and start a rebellion. Civil war. They legitimately kidnapped
Sleeper
him,
agent.
and he has reasons to feel the way he does, but it was entirely designed by the Thalmor to create this conflict so they can step in with under the guise of the Empire to seize more control of Tamriel. That's like the actual reasons behind everything that happens, best as I can tell. So it depends on which side you want to side with, really.
Right.
I've done both Stormcloaks and Imperials. I'm siding with the Empire on my current playthrough. But yeah, one of the reasons that the Nords use to help justify their rebellion against the Empire is that the Thalmor are imposing
the banning of
Talos worship, which there are several deities that exist inside the world of Elder Scrolls outside of just your standard current elven pantheon of gods. Right. So the elves don't want Talos to be considered one of the divines. They are correct in that. He is not one of the divines because he is not an Aedra. But he did ascend to the same level of existence. Ascend to godhood or like mantle previous god, possibly, sure.
Rules are different than you would expect in like a traditional narrative about what it means to be a god.
Right, where gods are just
and Aedra is power. A bit of a misnomer. It legitimately just means ancestors. Like that's
right,
all
Aedra
it means.
is just Elven for ancestors, which is why the Elven pantheon consists of the gods that they do, is because those are the deities that they consider to be their ancestors and the creators of the plane of Mundus.
Right. So it's not nearly as complex as you might think it is, but it also gets very complex very quickly.
It can, definitely.
But on the surface, it's not nearly as deep
but
as
anyway, the banning of Talos worship
lore.
is one of the things that Ulfric is, using as like, the Thalmor are trying to take our gods away from us kind of thing, and we need to, rebel against that because they're not going to take that away from us. Which I kind of understand, because they're not wrong to want to worship Talos if they want to.
Right.
But at the same time, he is not an Aedra. He is not one of the divines. Can he be part of the pantheon? Sure, but
there's justifiable reasons for taking either side.
Yes.
But the point that I was making a week ago, like Jeremiah brought up, was just that the Civil War quest does not take a very big spotlight.
True.
It's just very kind of passively lurking in your quest
I don't know
inventory.
That it's supposed to. Like, I'm kind of okay with how much time it takes.
I kind of would have liked for it to be a much bigger deal than it was. I thought that maybe the Civil War could have, and the Creation Club does include some things like that, where you there's the inclusion of fighting a champion for either side, and you get a unique set of gear depending on which side you side with. But it's like in the midst of conquering the different forts that you run into and the different scripted battles that you go through, either Windhelm or Solitude, depending on which side you go with. Aside from those major beats, it's a very boring quest line. And I think because it just wasn't given as much attention, I think, as it deserved. I think they could have done better with the Civil War quest line.
I mean, maybe I personally
more
don't
consequential actions other than just you either see Stormcloak soldiers everywhere or you see Legion soldiers everywhere.
Well, there's not really a whole lot of changes that would happen. Like, it makes sense for the Civil War to be relatively short-lived.
Like, I would love for there to be like a deeper intrigue into the Thalmor and their very devious subterfuge in fomenting the rebellion.
If you look, it's there.
It is, but
it's not in the forefront because it's meant to be hidden.
But there's also no direct quest line to uncover and root it out. Like, you can go wipe out the Thalmor embassy if you want to.
All you have to do is literally read the dossiers that you, by quest objective, have to acquire from the Thalmor embassy.
But what I'm trying to say is there is no specific quest that is root out the conspiracy. There isn't one. And that would have been a really cool inclusion if you side with the Empire and then the Empire finds out it's been manipulated into this conflict with the Stormcloaks or vice versa. That would have been cool.
They can't do anything
I'd like to see that. They could have, though.
They can't.
If it was in the game, they could have. They could have written it to be that way.
But the Empire literally couldn't do anything about it because the Thalmor are in control of the Empire. Not just from behind the shadows, just very plainly. like the Thalmor, the Aldmeri Dominion is in charge of the Empire. The Thalmor is a small section of the High Elves.
Right, but still, though, I think that the Civil War quest line just didn't take center stage enough. It kind of is it's upstaged by the main quest line.
And I don't think it, like, I
Maybe
agree
it
with
isn't
you, but
supposed to be.
I don't think it's supposed to. I think it plays just how it is.
There's just not enough there, though, for me to... And most of the time, it's one of the last quests I ever complete, because there's just kind of boring, honestly. Like, aside from getting the achievements for Fort Sunguard and Greenwall, there's no... I didn't see any real reason to do it. It was just kind of boring, honestly. Like, unless you are really invested in the role-playing aspect of getting to the root of either one or the other,
Yeah, and
which
for
you
the story-
don't really get, like, absolution. If you conquer Windhelm, you basically just kill Ulfric and his lieutenant, the Bearhide guy,
Yeah.
and that's it. They basically just give a little speech and they basically give a speech and they're like, your pay is doubled and the widows are going to be compensated for your fallen comrades. Okay, now go home. And that's basically it, which is kind of boring, honestly. Like, I was expecting more than that.
It's fair if you didn't like it.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's just kind of boring. Like, I just felt like for what it is, for what it markets itself as a major quest, it feels like there should be a bigger payoff. Like in Oblivion, when you finally defeat the Mythic Dawn, there is a huge, like, way more spectacular ending than I feel like Skyrim. The final battle with Alduin was a bit underwhelming, just a bit, as opposed to what you get in Oblivion, which is literal, like, Mehrunes Dagon, like the Daedric Prince of Destruction, like in causal form, shows up in the Imperial, like, courtyard, and is like a 50-foot, like, demonic apparition that is then fought by a avatar of Akatosh, who basically Uriel Septim the Eighth, I believe. I can't remember his name.
Right.
He basically, like, sacrifices himself to become an avatar of Akatosh, who, like, banishes Mehrunes Dagon back to the plane of Oblivion that he comes from. That was freaking epic. It was really cool. Not to harp on it too much. It's just little nitpicky details, but I don't have anything else, really. I mean, like, we could obviously talk about this game for, like, hours longer, but
yeah, like
we're getting long in the tooth here.
Topic and, like, went for it. There's certainly plenty that I could talk about with the history of the world and the Aedra and the Daedra.
And we will at some point do a lore video for Skyrim. I think
it would be fun, but it'd be
fun. It would be difficult, but, like, we're running on an hour and 20 minutes here, so do we want to wrap this one up right here?
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. General consensus, it's my favorite game. It's one of the best games.
It's a legendary game.
Please do.
I'm so freaking hyped for Elder Scrolls
Most of the
6.
stuff we play ends up being on Games Pass. So it's on Games Pass. You can play it for free.
And Elder Scrolls 6, day one access, people.
Yes.
On Games Pass. It doesn't get better than that. Buy a Games Pass.
Like, we're still, I don't know, 3 years away from that at least.
Starfield's coming out next year, and the trailer for that just dropped, and that's day one access too.
Yeah, it is.
Bethesda's nailing it lately, and I mean, just from the recent trailers that I saw, like, it basically makes Star Citizen, which is like the worst Ponzi scheme of all time, it basically just took everything Star Citizen tried to be over like 15 years of development, and they basically just made Star Citizen, but for $60.
I'll give you my thoughts on.
Did you watch the Starfield premiere of, like, the gameplay footage and all of that?
I watched Bethesda's and Microsoft's whole
whole
2 hours.
Well, we're going to wrap it up there for this video, guys. If you loved just hearing us rant about Skyrim for the hour and 20 minutes, just leave us a comment. We'd really appreciate it.
And if you want to know more, if you want us to do more on Skyrim, let us know, because I'll happily talk about it more.
For real. I mean, the amount of lore that this guy carries around in his head is staggering. So, for sure, if you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Leave a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate it. Share this video with your friends and family, especially the people you know who are gamers, who will appreciate what we have to say. If you didn't like the video, thanks for watching anyway, and I'll turn it over to Jeremiah.
Yeah, and if you are listening to us over on Spotify, thank you so much. If you could follow us and leave us a rating there, that would help out a lot as well. And we will see you next time.
Later.